Hi, everybody. I'm Roy Firestone. When I was growing up and learning the sports broadcasting business as an intern in Miami, I had only one hero as a local sports broadcaster. It was this guy right here. His name, Jim Mueller. Jim was the local sports anchor at WTBJ in Miami when I had vague dreams of doing and being what he was. Jim was everything I aspired to be. Everything I aspired to be but wasn't. He was dashing with the good looks, a terrific writer and reporter. I don't think he ever flubbed a line, a word as a broadcaster. He was also stylish and witty too. So I made up my mind when I was maybe 17 years old to follow Jim Mueller's style and hang around him as much as I could. Somehow I thought maybe his talent and style and insight and humor would rub off on me. So I just thought I'd watch and listen. And whenever I'd get ahead of myself, he'd always pull me aside and say, Firestone, listen, I've been to places and back you're still dreaming of. So stay humble and pay attention. Well, I never forgot that. Jim worked in Palm Beach and Louisville and then Miami. He was always moving up the broadcasting ladder. I knew he wouldn't last very long in Miami because he was just so much better than anyone else in the market. Well, then one day, sure enough, he got an offer to be the anchor for Cleveland's Channel 3 WKYC. He was accepting the job, and man, I was heartbroken. My mentor was leaving. He decided to drive up to Cleveland, and he took all his belongings with him in I think, a U-Haul. And Jim actually asked me if I would want to drive up with him. I couldn't say yes fast enough. We drove for 3 days. I was like a sponge, taking in all of the stories and the wisdom and the reflections on what it really took to be a great broadcaster. He was like Yoda in Star Wars to me, wise and knowing, but much better looking. Jim was the local sports anchor for about a decade, I think, in Cleveland. He worked as a color commentator with the Cleveland Browns for about 20 years, partnering with legends like Gib Shanley and Nev Chandler, Dub Deacon. He was also the racetrack announcer for NASCAR, and one of the best who ever did it. He knew the greats from Earnhardt to Richard Petty to Jeff Gordon. Jim was incredibly quick on his feet. He had a keen eye for play-by-play. He called all the classic races for the fans. And meanwhile, I had gotten a job, lucky me, for CBS in Los Angeles and ESPN later. And Jim and I stayed in touch over the years. As you know, last week we lost Jim. I didn't know the cause of his death, but after losing his wife, Kathy, to cancer, I'm guessing at least part of his passing was due to a broken heart. Jim and Kathy raised really great people. Their son, Kyle, and the daughter, Paige, super talented people, just like Jim was. A few years ago, Jim had me come to Cleveland to perform for a fundraiser, and he invited a ton of Browns and Cavalier players, members of the baseball team back then. They all came out because Jim was the legend. Anyway, when the show was over, Jim pulled me aside and said one of the nicest things I'd ever heard from someone I really idolized. He said, I'm proud of you, kid. You used your talent, you stayed humble, you kept your eye on the prize. Now you have been to places I can only dream of. Way to go, kid. Man, Jim Mueller was a big influence in my career. Any good work I did in my ridiculously fortunate journey that I had, well, it came from people like him. I wish I could have told him how much he meant to me, really. But I think deep down, he knew. What a great broadcaster, what a great human being, husband and father. I love you, Mules. Sleep well.